Hey everybody, welcome to another off-the-shelf board game review. This week we're looking at Dungeon Saga by Mantic Games. Now Dungeon Saga is a 2 to 5 player team-based game where one player gets to control the Overlord. He gets to control all the bad guys, while the other players need to split up the heroes, and this game is balanced for exactly 4 heroes. So that means if you have 4 players, one person's going to have to control more than one hero. If you have 3 players, 2 people control 2 heroes apiece, one person controls the Overlord. And if you manage to get 5 players to sit down, everybody gets 1 hero, while the other player is the Overlord, controlling all the bad guys, trying to make the life difficult for our heroes. Now this is a scenario-based game where you're going to pick a scenario, and you can do this 2 ways. The game does come with 10 scenarios. There's 2 very basic training scenarios. The first one's going to tell you how to do melee combat. The second one's going to tell you how to do range combat with the wizard and the elf, and then you can go into the full 8 campaign, dungeon campaign system the game does have. Now you can play each one of these campaigns individually, or you can take it as a part of a complete campaign system where the player is going to carry through and get experience points, which is a really simple system where players can turn in experience points that they're going to get from killing monsters to roll extra dice. Now before we go anywhere else, I want to let you know these aren't the dice that come with the game. These dice are from Turn 1 Gaming Supplies. It's part of their 8-bit line. They're much better dice than come in the basic set, so I replaced these with my Dungeon Saga dice, which I tossed somewhere and I don't know where they are anymore, so I couldn't put them in there, so I apologize in advance for that. But anyways, back onto the game. The game can be played through the campaign system, and the game has a built-in timer system where the heroes are trying to get to an objective before a timer runs out based on the Overlord deck that the Overlord gets based on each specific scenario. So the cool thing about Dungeon Saga is you're going to build the board as far as the heroes can see. And you're going to tell them their objective is trying to escape the dungeon, but they don't know how far they need to go to get that objective before that timer runs out, so they kind of have a time pressure where the Overlord, the bad guy, is trying to slow them down by sending waves of weak monsters against them, or possibly powerful boss monsters, which are much more challenging for our heroes to fight. But they're trying to slow down the heroes because if they can't get to the final objective before the timer runs out, the heroes are lost and they need to re-attempt the dungeon. Of course, if the heroes can make it all the way to the doors, bash down the doors, reveal the further levels of the dungeon, and find the true, real exit to escape the dungeon before the dungeon timer runs out, then our heroes are going to win the adventure. Now, Dungeon Saga does use some pretty simple mechanics for the game. The way the game is going to be played out is the heroes are going to go first, and the heroes can go in any order, and then once all the heroes have activated, then the Overlord gets to go, and they get a certain amount of activations based on the scenario, plus they get to play cards, 1 card per turn, which is going to give them special abilities. Now, some of these cards are going to be specific to the Necromancer campaign. And now this game does come with multiple campaigns. The second campaign is an Orc campaign, which is going to have Orc cards specific to the Orc campaign. The next campaign is going to be an Inferno campaign, which is going to have cards specific to the Inferno campaign. Plus, there are some basic cards that come with every single adventure, which are going to give the Overlord extra commands, extra activations, and extra actions, including the ability to interrupt the hero's turns, which kind of adds to the complexity and to the strategy of the game, because the players may activate one of their heroes and perform an action with that hero, then the Overlord is going to play one of their interrupt cards, which is going to allow them to activate possibly one of their monsters, attacking the heroes and slowing the monsters down. The monsters will be able to slow the heroes down, And the cool thing about this game, unlike a lot of the more modern dungeon crawlers, is all the monsters and all the heroes have a threat facing. As soon as you enter the threat facing of an enemy model, you have to stop. And now remember, again, like I said earlier, this game is a race. The heroes are trying to get to the final door, bash down the final door before the timer runs out. Now, like I said, the mechanics for the game are pretty simple. Basically, what's going to happen is if you're a melee type, you're going to move up next to the monster and you're going to bash it and try to destroy it to try to protect the wizard and the ranger, because this is definitely one of those games where the heroes, if even one hero manages to fall, the bad guys definitely win. So the bad guys are trying to either slow our heroes down before they find the exit, or manage to knock down one of the heroes before they can find that exit. So that's basically the objectives of the game. So the bashy types are going to be trying to bash down the monsters, the range attackers are going to be trying to range attacking the monsters, and the caster types are basically going to be casting spells to try to blow up monsters, and again, try to find the exit and escape from the dungeon. But the cool thing that adds a little bit more to the game, makes it a little more cool, and adds a little bit to the complexity, and makes it more advances such as classic games such as HeroScape, is the fact that the heroes will eventually level up to become more powerful. They're going to eventually learn more spells to make them more powerful. They're going to gain new abilities that's going to make them more powerful, and they're also going to eventually get potions to heal, better armor, better equipment, and become much more equipped to take on the tougher dungeons, the tougher monsters, and their objective to finally get to the end of the dungeon and face the final bad guy, the necromancer, who's trying to ruin the day of our heroes. Now, while the basic Dungeon Saga box does come with everything you see here, there is also a separate purchase, a Dungeon Saga Adventures Companion. Now, what the Adventures Companion is going to do is it's going to allow you to create your own campaigns. It's going to allow you to create your own adventures. That's going to give you rules and statistics for a whole bunch of different bad guys. On top of that, it's also going to give you rules for creating your own heroes using different races, different classes beyond the classes that you see in this basic game. And it's also going to give you an invisible overlord system, which allows you to play the game completely as a cooperative campaign system, where the players are all going to control the heroes, and the game mechanics itself through a deck draw is going to control the AI and the dungeon layout of the game. And players in all these different systems, the campaign system, the create your own adventure system, the invisible overlord system, and the create your own hero system, are all going to be leveling up all the way from level 1 all the way up to level 10, gaining extra powers, extra skills, and extra abilities. Now, you can't use any of those abilities in the very basic Necromancer campaign that comes with a box set, because not only are you required, it's mandatory for you have to have a wizard to go through the complete campaign system, because they're the only ones who can unlock the magical locks, which sometimes happen to be covering chests, and they also happen to occasionally be blocking doors, so it does make some of the dungeons impossible to win without a wizard, so that becomes mandatory. Not only that, it's not really balanced, because this game isn't balanced for these very 4 specific heroes to go through this complete campaign system in an effort to defeat the Necromancer and win the game. So, having said that, I want to bring that point up to let you know that I'm only going to be looking at the basic Dungeon Saga system in this rules series. If you want to learn more about the Dungeon Saga Adventures Companion, I'm going to show that as a completely different video series, where I'm going to go over the complete Dungeon Saga Adventures Companion, show you how that plays and how that changes up the gameplay in a completely different video series. I hope you enjoyed this brief overview for Dungeon Saga the game. Now, if you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them in the YouTube comments down below. I'll make sure I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. If you want to learn how to play Dungeon Saga, make sure you check out the next video in the series, where I'll teach you exactly how to play Dungeon Saga. In the third video of the series, I'm actually going to show you some gameplay using the specific adventure that you see set up right here, which is the second dungeon in the, it's actually the first dungeon in the series. It's technically the third, because you have the 2 teaching scenarios, and this is actually the very first campaign adventure. After that, I'm going to give you my full review in a 4th video, where I'm going to give you my opinions and my thoughts on the game itself. Again, not looking at the Adventurer's Companion. I hope you enjoy this video series. If you enjoy this video series, click that like button, click that subscribe button. You can also support this channel on Patreon if you would like to help support the channel, help you bring out more games, more videos, and more tutorials for the game system. Check it out on Patreon, off-the-shelf board game reviews on patreon.com. Thanks for watching.